Welcome back. All right, so the playoff history videos that I've been doing, let's talk about Montreal today. And of course, this goes from 99 2000 until 2020 2021. And it has been, well, it's frustrating when they're against Tampa Bay and when they're against Philly, isn't it? It is bizarre how often those logos show up on here. They've played Boston a lot too, so while Boston shows up a couple of times, traditionally, Montreal versus Boston is a bad matchup for Boston. If you watch the history videos when I was doing year-by-year histories, you know. So 1999, 2000, or if you know your hockey history, you know Boston, Montreal. Traditionally, again, Montreal owns that matchup. 35, 34, 9, and 4, the 99-2000 season. No playoffs. Martin Rucinski was their leading scorer. What was remarkable to me in putting this video together was how many different players have been a leading scorer for Montreal over the last 20 years. Rucinski had 25 goals and 24 assists for 49 points in 80 games. So not enough offense for that Montreal team. 2000-2001, it actually gets worse. They finished 28-40, 8-6. No playoffs. Saku Koivu, 54 games, 17 goals, 30 assists, 47 points. Saku Koivu, one of those guys that if he had been able to stay healthier, who knows, you might have heard more rumblings about a Hall of Fame appearance for him. 2001, 2002, they make the playoffs this year. 36, 31, 12, and 3. And in the first round, they beat Boston in 6. Second round, they lost to Carolina. That was also in 6. Yannick Perreault was their leading scorer that year. 82 games, 27 goals, 29 assists for 56 points. In the playoffs, 11 games, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points. And if I was going to talk about players who I think were kind of underrated during their run in the NHL, I would put Yannick Perreault on the list. You guys can let me know why I'm wrong in the comment section below. 2002, 2003, back to no playoffs for Montreal. So this is 3 years out of 4. 30, 35, 8, and 9 is the record. No playoffs. Saku Koivu, 82 games, 21 goals, 50 assists, 71 points. So this is during the Jose Theodore era as well. Almost went with Spanish instead of French. Jose Theodore. And he was great, but, you know, there's a limit to what he can do, right? He's one player. So Saku Koivu that year played every game, had 71 points. Not bad, but the team misses the playoffs. 2003, 2004, they go back to the playoffs with a record of 41, 30, 7, and 4. In the first round, they beat Boston, right, in 7. So they beat Boston 4-3, and then in the second round, they lost to Tampa in 4 straight. Mike Ribeiro's their leading scorer that year. 81 games, 20 goals, 45 assists, 65 points. In the playoffs, 11 games, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. And it was a question as to how built for the playoffs Montreal was during most of this time. And definitely, you know, in that second round against Tampa just took them out. 2005, 2006, they do make the playoffs again. 42, 31, and 9 is the record in the first season with the salary cap and coming out of the lockout, wiped out season. But they lost in the first round again to Carolina, and this was that huge switch, right? Cam Ward goes in, and it's a light switch for Carolina, and Montreal wasn't able to answer it. Montreal loses in 6. Kovalev is their leading scorer, 69 games, 23 goals, 42 assists, 65 points. In the playoffs, he plays 6 games, 4 goals, and 3 assists. So your leading scorers, Rucinski, Koivu, Perreault, Koivu, Ribeiro, Kovalev, right? So 2006, 2007, they finished 42, 34, and 6. Not a bad record, but they don't make the playoffs. Saku Koivu is their leading scorer, 81 games, 22 goals, 53 assists, 75 points. 2007, 2008, they're back in the playoffs with a record of 47, 25, and 10. Very good regular season, and in the first round, they beat Boston, in 7. So they knocked out Boston here, they knocked out Boston here, they knocked out Boston here. Not a problem. Philadelphia, they lost against Philadelphia in 5. Kovalev's their leading scorer again, 82 games, 35 goals, 49 assists, 84 points. In the playoffs, 12 games, 5 goals, 6 assists for 11 points for Kovalev. 2008, 2009, they're in the playoffs again, 41, 30, and 11. They lost in 4 against Boston. That series, I remember that one. That was dominance by Boston. I don't think Montreal had a lead in the series until Game 4. I'm pretty sure about that. Like, it was a dominant series. Kovalev's the leading scorer again, 78 games, 26 goals, 39 assists, 65 points in the playoffs. He plays all 4 games and has 2 goals and 1 assist along the way. 2009, 2010, they don't have to worry about Boston that year. They did end up in the playoffs, and they beat Washington in 7. Now, what's interesting with that year is this is the year that Jaro Halaq steals the show. Montreal came in, no expectation of Montreal being able to do anything. There also wasn't any expectation that Philadelphia was going to be able to do much of anything either. So, first round, Halaq knocks out the Capitals in 7. And then Halaq, in round 2, knocks out the Penguins in 7. So you take out Ovechkin in the first round and Crosby in the second round. Third round, they played against Philly. Philly wasn't supposed to be here either. Philadelphia had been down 3-0 against Boston, win the next 3. Game 7, Boston's up 3-0 on the scoreboard, and Philly came back and won the game. So Philadelphia, in that conference final, they knocked out Montreal in 5. Plekanec is the leading scorer, 82 games, 24 goals, 45 assists, 70 points. In the playoffs, he plays 19 games, 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points. So nice long run for Montreal. And again, Halaq looked great. Now, coming out of that, they then got rid of Halaq. They let Halaq go, and they went with Carey Price, which at the time was considered a bit of a controversy. Looking back, it's not so much. 2010, 2011, they finished 44, 30, and 8. They lost in the first round in 7 against Boston. That was a series that was close, really, really close. And again, as a Bruins fan, I was convinced Boston was going to lose it, and then they won it. And Plekanec is the leading scorer again, 77 games, 22 goals, 35 assists, 57 points. In 7 playoff games, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. So we go to 2011, 2012, and Montreal falls back outside the playoffs. 31, 35, and 16. So no playoffs there. Pacioretty's their leading scorer, 79 games, 33 goals, 32 assists, 65 points. 2012, 2013, in a lockout-shortened season, they get back into the playoffs, 29, 14, and 5. But they lost in the first round to Ottawa in 5 games. That to me was a shocker. I know Ottawa shocked everybody in 2017 with the run they went on. But for me, the shocker was 2013 when they knocked out Montreal. I didn't see that one coming. Pacioretty was the leading scorer for Montreal again, 44 games, 15 goals, 24 assists, 39 points. He was held off the scoreboard in 4 games in Montreal. So Montreal fans complaining about Pacioretty and his playoff performances, I think starts with 2013. If you think it preceded that, you guys can let me know in the comment section below. 2013, 2014, they finished 46, 28, and 8. So they're still in the playoffs. And they sweep Tampa Bay in the first round. So a lot of momentum off of that. And then they beat Boston in 7 games in the next round. So they avenged themselves from those 2 losses against Boston there. And then they lost against the Rangers in the conference final in 6. And of course, this is still Chris Kreider, Carey Price. There's that controversy there in how Montreal gets knocked out. Pacioretty, 73 games, 39 goals, 21 assists, 60 points. That close to 40 goals. But in the playoffs, in 17 games, he only had 5 goals and 6 assists for 11 points. So again, it is part of the conversation about whether or not Pacioretty is able to get them over the top, right? 2014, 2015, great regular season. They finished 50, 22, and 10. And in the first round, they knocked out Ottawa in 6. So they get revenge from a couple years before. And then they ran into Tampa, who were on their way to a Stanley Cup final, and Tampa Bay knocks out Montreal in 6. So this was the first time that these teams had met where it didn't end in a sweep. Pacioretty's the leading scorer again, 80 games, 37 goals. So he's close to 40 twice there. 30 assists, 67 points. In the playoffs, his numbers are better. 11 games, 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points. But still, the comments and questions will always be there with Patches when it comes to a playoff appearance by Montreal. 2015-2016, they fall back outside the playoffs. 38, 38, and 6. Pacioretty, the leading scorer again. 82 games, 30 goals, 34 assists, 64 points. So Pacioretty ends up being their leading scorer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into 6 straight seasons he's their leading scorer. So when you're leading scorer and you become captain and all of that, you will get a lot of criticism in Montreal if the team's not experiencing success in the playoffs. So we get to 2016-2017, right? 47, 26, and 9. And in the first round against the Rangers, they lose in 6 games. So the Rangers take them out for the second time in 4 years. Pacioretty's the leading scorer again, 81 games, 35 goals, 32 assists, 67 points. In the playoffs, 6 games played, only the 1 assist. Pacioretty's relationship with the Montreal Canadiens becomes an issue, right? And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but that relationship would start to show some real signs of strain and then eventually a complete break. 2017-2018, the team's record is 29-40-13. No playoffs. Unacceptable record for Montreal, right? Gallagher, leading scorer, 82 games, 31 goals, 23 assists, 54 points. So Brendan Gallagher becomes the leading scorer there. That is the only time that Gallagher actually leads the team in scoring. We now get into various players leading the team. 2018-2019, they finished 44-30-8. No playoffs. They would have been in the playoffs in the West. Absolutely, yes. Max Domi was their leading scorer that year. That was a great year for Domi. 82 games, 28 goals, 44 assists, 72 points. So when people point to his contract now and say, that just seems so high. Right. And if you sign a contract after you've scored 72 points or during a season where you're scoring at that rate, it looks like a bargain at the time, right? So 2019-2020, the team falls off during the regular season, 31-31-9. But they win the qualifying round over Pittsburgh in 4, 3-1, best of 5 series. And then they lost against Philadelphia in a 6-game series. Philadelphia did not have an easy time taking out Montreal. If Montreal had had a little bit more finish in the playoffs, who knows? Tomas Tatar, 68 games, 22 goals, 39 assists, 61 points. He's the leading scorer. But in the playoffs, he only had 2 goals in 10 games. People look at the run that Montreal went on this year and talk about how Tatar didn't get played. I kind of get it. He only had the 10 goals this season, and he had the 2 in the playoffs last year. And if you have a coach or you have management that decides, we don't think this is really going to be our guy going forward, it can be so hard to turn that around, even if from a logical standpoint, you look at it and say, you know what, they should have played him more. Coach and GM will normally stand by that, even after a guy leaves and has success elsewhere. I've had numerous times in my years of cheering for various teams where I've seen a player go somewhere else and have tremendous success, and to hear the GM saying, that probably wouldn't have happened here. We have a deeper lineup where, he wouldn't have played as many minutes. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, but he should have played as many minutes because look how many points he's putting up there, right? So 2020-2021, the season that just finished, they finished 24-21-11. They won less than half their games. And it's interesting because 2019-2020, they also won less than half their games. But Montreal has now raised the bar. The expectations may very well be high. Again, it depends on how they adapt to losing Danault and Weber, right? Those are huge. Those are huge losses. Danault and all the face-offs that he was winning, the key moments that Weber was excellent in, they have to have somebody to take that place, right? But once the playoffs rolled around, against Toronto, they were down 3-1, and they won 3 in a row. So they knock out Toronto in the first round. They swept Winnipeg in the second round. And then in the third round, they beat Vegas in 6. They weren't supposed to get anywhere near Vegas. That was supposed to be a sweep for Vegas, and it wasn't. And then in the finals, they do avoid being swept. Tampa Bay wins that one in 5 games to win the Stanley Cup. And that is the first Stanley Cup final appearance for Montreal on this board, and the first Stanley Cup final appearance they had had in a very long time. But Montreal wants to get back. The fans will want to get back. Tyler Toffoli was their leading scorer during the regular season. Here's what's interesting to me. 28 goals and 16 assists for 44 points in 52 games. I don't think he scores at that rate again next year. In the playoffs, in 22 games, he had 5 goals and 9 assists for 14 points. That would put him on a pace for about 20 goals, a little bit below 20 goals. I don't think he scored enough during the playoffs. I think he probably scored too much during the regular season. With the addition of Hoffman, does that eat into his goal scoring next year? Be interesting to see. But Montreal kind of feels like they're at a crossroads. We will see how this turns out for them, right? They've added Savard. Can Savard make up for the loss of Weber, right? So, what kind of greatness are you up against when you put this jersey on as a hockey player? Well, Jean Beliveau is the all-time scoring leader in the playoffs in this team's franchise history. 162 games, 79 goals, 97 assists, 176 points. Lots of Stanley Cups between these guys, too. Jacques Lemaire, 145 games, 61 goals, 78 assists, 139 points. For Larry Robinson, 203 games, 25 goals, 109 assists, 134 points. Guy Lafleur, 124 games, 57 goals, 76 assists, and 133 points for Guy Lafleur. So Lafleur, who would be an all-time leader on most teams, he's number 4 here. Henri Richard, 180 games played, 49 goals, 80 assists, 129 points. The other remarkable thing is, keep in mind, these guys all play like a ton of playoff games, and for most of them, it was at a time when we didn't have 4 rounds. You didn't need 16 wins to win a Stanley Cup. So it is truly remarkable just how long these guys played and just how many cups they won. And of course, for Carey Price, he's looking over his shoulder at Jacques Plante, Patrick Roy, and Ken Dryden, just as 3 top-notch goaltenders in this team's lore who led them to championship victories and all kinds of accolades over the years. So yeah, it is a lot of pressure when you're a Montreal Canadien. It's kind of built in, and the expectation somewhere in Montreal land is, hey, while we talk about all these other Canadian teams and all these cups they're going to win, it'll be Montreal. I guarantee you that there will be a lot of people who feel that that's the case. And honestly, when they were going to the final this year, in the back of my mind, I thought, you know what? It kind of would make some sense if it was Montreal that was going to break the drought on the northern side of the border. But we'll see how they do this year. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.